Hello everyone. SV Union Junior College, Standard 11th Commerce. I am Manjusha Gongale and now we are going to study Chapter 2 Joint Stock Company. In this video, we will be studying about the introduction to the topic and also the evolution of business organization. First, let us begin with the introduction. We all know that the Industrial Revolution took place in England in 1760. And so, due to this, there were lot of changes that took place in industries. But before the Industrial Revolution, the manufacturing was done manually using local resources. That is, the people over there would use all the resources that are available. And due to this, there was limited capital. And also the production was done on a very small scale. But the Industrial Revolution brought about radical changes, that is, a lot of changes in the field of industry and commerce. And so gradually the production started taking place on a larger scale. And this was possible with the help of machines. There was a huge demand for the products also. And so the local markets then became into regional, national and international markets. This revolution brought about the various activities also on a full-fledged level. There was a lot of change in the transportation requirements and other commercial activities. And so, due to all these things, there was an evolution of the various organizations. Evolution of business organization. Now we are going to study about the various types of business organizations. We have various forms of business organizations: sole trading concern, joint Hindu family business, partnership firm, limited liability partnership, cooperative society and joint stock company. We will now be studying about all these forms of organization in detail. We begin with sole trading concern. Sole trading, as the name indicates, it is belonging to one person. So, only one person is the owner and he is the manager also of the organization. There is no separate law or act that governs these sole trading concerns, but it has to follow all the rules and regulations wherever that particular organization is situated. The sole trading concern has only one owner. The capital also is contributed by the sole trader, which is usually very less. There is no division of the profits or loss as there is a single owner. Therefore, he bears all the profits and he itself is going to earn and bear all the losses of the company. All decisions of the business are taken by the sole trader. So this can be a disadvantage and also an advantage for the trader. The proprietor, that is the sole trader, he has to ensure that there is maximum secrecy and he is able to maintain this because he does not have to say it to anyone. The liability of the sole trader is unlimited. Therefore, due to this, even his private assets can be taken into the business. The business does not enjoy a separate legal status. His business is going to be known just as an organization, that is a sole trading concern. The sole trading concern is not suitable for large-scale business operations because it requires more business opportunities. The next that we are going to study is a joint Hindu family business. A joint Hindu family business, as the name itself suggests, is wherein the business is carried on by the family. So membership in this joint Hindu family business is by birth only. It belongs only to those people who are belonging to that particular family. Every child that is born in the family becomes a member. For example, we have PNG or Ashtekar. So these are family business. Or we have Chitale Bandhu. So here the family business is carried on by the members together. The head of the family is known as the Karta. He is the person who takes up all the decisions. The most important decisions are taken up by the Karta. And other members are called as the co-personers. Here, there is no limitation on the minimum or maximum number of people because all the people that are born in the family are going to work in that particular business. All family members are engaged in this business. Here, the liability of the Karta is unlimited. That is wherein he might have to get all his personal assets into the business. But the liability of the co-personers is limited. And so the liability of the Karta, which becomes unlimited, it is because he is the main person who takes up all the decisions. Karta is the manager, he is also the controller and coordinator of the business. The Karta, he being the sole decision maker, can take up quick decisions. Usually, the Karta takes the opinion of the co-personers, that is the other members, but the final decision rests with the Karta. The profit sharing ratio keeps on changing depending upon the births and deaths in the family. So as per that, the ratios are being decided by the Karta itself. Next type of organization is partnership firms. This business is started by an agreement between two or more persons. So, to start a partnership firm, there has to be at least minimum two people, and they come together for achieving the main objective of an organization. There can be minimum two people as partners and maximum 50 for any sort of general business. The liability of partners is unlimited, means all the partners are contributing towards the liability of the firm, and it is joint and several. So the liability of the organization is going to be borne by all the partners of that organization. Capital is contributed by partners. It might be on mutual understanding. The partnership firm does not enjoy separate legal status. In partnership firm, partners cannot transfer their shares without the permission of other partners. So, they have to mutually decide as to what can be the profit sharing ratio, and accordingly they will be sharing the profits. All partners are joint owners as well as joint managers of the business. So, whenever any decision have to be taken, the managers, that is these partners, come together and take up the decision. There is no separation of ownership and management in partnership firm. This means that if at all the firm goes in any sort of losses, there has to be the losses which has to be borne between all the partners together. Partners share profit and losses in the agreed ratio as mentioned in partnership deed. Partnership deed means it is an agreement which all the partners are going to decide, and they are going to follow all those rules and regulations which are given in the partnership deed. The next type of organization is limited liability partnership. The limited liability partnership is a separate legal entity, that is a body corporate. The LLP and the partners are distinct from each other. The main difference between partnership firm and limited liability partnership is based on the liability. In partnership firm, the liability of the partners is unlimited, whereas in LLP, the liability of the partners is limited. Here also, there are a number of partners that can be are 2, that is minimum, and maximum there is no limit. There is no requirement of minimum capital contribution. It is very simple to form and easy to operate. The liability of each partner is limited to his share as written in the agreement. So it is pre-decided as to how much will be the loss that is going to be borne by all the partners. It has a low cost of formation because the formation is again mutually decided by the partners together. There is no restriction on joining and leaving the LLP except as stated in the partnership agreement. So, in the partnership agreement, it is going to be decided as to the partnership, how they are going to join, that is when the new partner is going to be admitted, and if at all the old partners are going to retire. Double taxation is avoided. There is no tax on share in profit. So this is a very good advantage for the limited liability partnership firms. The next type that we are going to study is the cooperative society. Cooperative society, as the name itself indicates, to work in cooperation. Here there is registration and it is compulsory. In a cooperative society, members of a particular society or people who are deciding upon a particular aspect come together and to fulfill the main objective. The objective might be to earn profits or it might be services. The major objective of any cooperative society is to provide a particular service to the members. The members of a cooperative society is open to all. The minimum number that can be there in a cooperative society is 10, and again maximum there is no limit. The liability of a member in a cooperative society is limited. It is limited only up to the shares that a person is contributing towards the society. It differs from other forms of organization as its aim is not maximization of profits but to provide service to its members. The organization enjoys independent legal status different from its members. So, the management and the ownership are two different entities in the organization. There is equality in voting rights. That is, the management of the cooperative society is democratic. That is, all the members have a right to speak and all the members have a right to vote. They follow the principle of one member, one vote, wherein one member is going to vote once. There is control and supervision by the state government on the working of cooperative organizations. The cooperative societies are controlled by the Cooperative Societies Act. That is, this act is going to give out all the guidelines for the working of the cooperative societies. Please type the SP Educator. For videos related to Standard 11th and Standard 12th Commerce for the subject Secretarial Practice. Do like, share and subscribe to the channel The SP Educator. Thank you, one and all.